A young African girl holds an empty wooden box tightly against her chest. To the right foreground, an elderly African man wearing a worn grey tunic hunched over a wooden block. This is the story of a girl who was accused of a sickness she had not made, who was sent to drink a tea that would have killed her in 3 days, who carried an empty wooden box to the shrine because her dead mother had told her to, and who was saved in the end by an old man who had been deaf for 61 years and was afraid, and who set his fear down at the age of 71 and carved the truth in front of 400 people. Some of it is hard to hear. Stay until the end. The end is the part that matters. The compound belonged to Mama Ginika. She said so every time a stranger passed the gate. It had belonged to a man named Obi Ogbodo, who had been dead for 9 years. He had 2 daughters from 2 wives. The first wife, Ngozi, had died in the rains when Amara was 4 years old, leaving behind the girl and a small wooden box that nobody in the village had ever been allowed to open. The second wife had been Mama Ginika, who had given him 1 daughter, Uju, 2 years before he died. When Obi died, he had not specifically said that Mama Ginika should keep the gate, but she had put her hand on the gatepost and stood there for 9 years. And a village that was not in the habit of arguing with a woman who had 3 answers before you had 1 question had stopped arguing about it after the 3rd year. Amara was 17 now, and Uju was 13, and they had grown up in the same compound like 2 different kinds of plant. Uju went to school. Uju had new cloth every Easter. Uju was sent for when visitors came. Amara carried firewood. Amara drew water from the stream. Amara scrubbed the floor. Amara fed the goat. Amara was not sent for. Mama Ginika understood that Amara was not her blood, and had decided, somewhere in the long afternoon of her husband's burial, that an orphan girl was not worth more than what she could carry, and she had told the girl so every week, in a voice that almost sounded like love. "You understand, Amara. I did not choose to be your mother. Your own mother chose to leave you." And the words sat on Amara's chest like a basin of cold water for 13 years. And it worked. Mama Ginika was not simply hard, she was also powerful. On Tuesdays, she sold herbal medicine at the small market, and every woman in Igbo knew her face. On Sundays, the same women walked past the shrine at the center of the village and nodded at Mama Ginika, because Mama Ginika had a way of nodding back that made you feel that you had been seen. This is the woman who was going to accuse her own niece of witchcraft. 3 weeks before the bride selection that was going to break the village open, Uju walked into her mother's kitchen at dawn and could not get up. By the 2nd day, the village elders were sitting in the compound of Obi Ogbodo. By the 3rd day, an old man who had once been a doctor came to look at her. He looked at Uju for a long time. Then he stood up and said, "This is not a fever. This is the work of someone who wanted this girl out of the way. Somebody has been putting something into her palm oil." And Mama Ginika heard him. Her face did not change, but her eyes went to the doorway where Amara was standing with a bowl of water, and her eyes stayed there. That is how it started. By the end of the 1st week, there was talk in the market that Mama Ginika's orphan niece had grown tired of carrying firewood. By the 2nd week, 3 houses on the eastern road had stopped waving at Amara when she passed. By the end of the 3rd week, the Sassywood had been called for. This is what the Sassywood was. It is older than Christianity in this part of the country. When a person is named in a village as the cause of a sickness that nobody can explain, the elders gather the named person and the accuser at the shrine, and the named person is made to drink a thick, bitter tea that has been boiling for hours. If the named person's heart is clean, they vomit within minutes, and the elders declare them innocent. If it is not clean, The tea kills them slowly over 3 days, and the village has been satisfied. It had been done twice in Igbo in the last 40 years. Both times, the named person had been a woman. Both times, the woman had died. Neither had been guilty of anything. But the village was certain now, in the way that villages are certain when the most respected woman in the village is the one telling them what to be certain about. Now you must hear about Tata Agu. He is 71 years old. He has been carving wood in this village for 53 of those years. Doors for the shrines, stools for the elders, walking sticks for the chiefs. He is also completely deaf in both ears. He cannot hear a drum, he cannot hear a child cry, he cannot hear his own name called across a yard. But his hands work, and his eyes have not stopped. Tata Agu was sitting outside his workshop the morning Uju fell down. His workshop is 20 paces from Mama Ginika's gate. He had seen Mama Ginika go into Uju's room 2 nights before. He had seen her come out 3 minutes later with a small clay cup in her right hand, her face turned away. He had seen her walk to the back of the compound and pour the contents of the cup into a crack in the wall that opened onto the goat pen. He had seen the goat, the next morning, walk in a circle and fall and not get up. Tata Agu knew, and Tata Agu had not spoken. He had been afraid for 9 years, ever since Obi Ogbodo had died. Obi had been the only man in Igbo who had made Tata Agu feel his hands were worth something. Obi had been the one who gave him his first commission. Obi had been the one who, when the boys had mocked him for being deaf in his 10th year, had lifted Tata Agu on his shoulders and carried him home, and told the headmaster that any boy in this village who threw a stone at a deaf wood carver would be answering to him. Obi was dead, and Mama Ginika was not Obi. For 9 years, Tata Agu sat on his stool and carved, and did not tell a soul. Until the morning they came for Amara. The bride selection had been announced by then. The Igwe of Ogidi, 16 miles to the north, had died 3 months before. He had left one son, Prince Chukwuemeka, 25 years old, who had been educated in the East. He had the awkward habit of asking questions that elders in this part of the country do not like to be asked. He had insisted the orphan girls be allowed to stand in the line if they wanted to. The selection was to be held on Saturday. The Sassywood ordeal for Amara was set for Tuesday of the same week. The elders did not see anything wrong with the timing. On Tuesday morning, 3 men walked up to the gate of Mama Ginika's compound to fetch Amara. There is one of them whose name you need to know. His name is Okeke. He is 58 years old, an elder for 19 years. He has buried 3 wives, and has a wooden staff with a small bell tied to it, and the bell rings when he walks. And this is how Mama Ginika always knew he was coming. Okeke was a man who had stopped forming opinions at the time when his 3rd wife died. When a question came to him, he would hold it up in his mind like a yam he was not sure was ripe, and turn it over for a long time, and then either say nothing or say what the most powerful person in the room wanted him to say. He had said nothing in his life that had surprised anybody. Until now. Okeke did not go inside. Mama Ginika, the girl Amara. We have come for her. The Sassywood has been called for, and the elders will meet under the great tree at the 10th hour. Mama Ginika's face did not move. I am not surprised. The girl has been strange since she was small. I have always said so. Then she turned her head toward the yard and called out, Amara, come out. The elders have come for you. And Amara came. She came out of the back room carrying a bundle that she had made the night before. 2 wrappers folded. A small wooden box. She had been awake all night. She had not cried. Okeke looked at the girl. The girl looked at him. There was nothing in his face for a long time. Then something came into it that he himself had not seen in 19 years. "Your box," he said. "What is in the box?" "It was my mother's." "Will you let us look?" "No," said Amara. Okeke nodded. He had expected this answer. Amara walked between the 3 men. She did not hold Okeke's arm. She walked upright. On that same dawn, Tata Agu had been at the gate of his workshop. He had carved a message for the village by sign, the way a deaf village sends things when it has to send them fast. He had carved on his door, "The woman you are about to kill is not the one who did this." Emeka, a boy of 9, walked past the workshop on his way to fetch water. He read it in the dawn light. He dropped his bucket and he ran. He ran to his father's house. His father was out. He ran to his uncle's house. His uncle was out. He ran to the wash house. "Mama, Tata Agu has carved it. They are killing the wrong woman." His mother looked at him for a long time. Then she said, "Run to the workshop. Tell Tata Agu I will be there. Do not stop." When Amara arrived at the shrine, 9 elders were already seated in a half circle. Mama Ginika was at one end, her sister Mama Ife at the other, and the accuser was standing between them, which is to say that Mama Ginika was both the accuser and the mother of the accuser. A pot was boiling in the middle. The smell reached Amara before she reached the half circle. Amara stood at the entrance. The chief elder, Onuoha, said, "Daughter of Ihuo, you have been named in sickness. Have you anything to say?" Amara said, "I did not do this. The sickness is not from my hands." "Then drink." "I will drink." A woman stepped out of the crowd with a small clay cup. Amara reached for it, and at the exact moment her hand closed around the cup, Tata Agu appeared at the entrance of the shrine. He had been carried. 2 apprentices were holding him on either side, because he is 71 and his feet no longer work, and they had carried him on his carved chair from the workshop to the shrine. The chair, which is something he has never allowed anyone to touch, had been in pieces, and they had to put it back together again at the shrine, and they did, in front of the elders, while the village watched. Tata Agu was deaf. He could not hear a word being said, but his hands work, and his eyes have not stopped. Tata Agu began to carve. He had brought a small block of wood and a knife. He carved in front of the 9 elders, in front of Mama Ginika, in front of 400 people. He carved slowly. This woman. Then he turned the block to face Mama Ginika. This woman. Then he took out the block the apprentices had taken from his own door and held it up. The palm oil. The goat pen. 3 nights before. The woman's daughter was not sick then. He put it in herself. The chief elder Onuoha read it aloud, very slowly. The silence was so total that Tata Agu, who was deaf, did not even have to pretend he could hear it. Mama Ginika's face changed. She looked at Tata Agu. She said, "Tata, you are old and you are sick. Whatever they have made you think." But Tata Agu was not looking at her. He was looking at Amara. And he signed with his hands, the way he had signed with Amara when she was 7 years old. The hands speak louder than the mouth, and when both are closed, the work speaks. He signed, You are not the one who is to die. Read this as a single-speaker cinematic storytelling narration in Bradford's voice. Keep the pacing slightly fast. Keep pauses to an absolute minimum. Maintain continuous flow, and deliver with dramatic emotional weight and clear articulation. Do not use any other speaker or narration voice. And Amara nodded. And Uju, who had been carried to the shrine by Emeka's mother, raised her head and said, with what little voice the fever had left her, "Mama, did you put something in my palm oil?" Mama Ginika stood still for a long time. Then she sat down in the dust. She put her hands flat on her knees, and she closed her eyes. She said, "Yes." The village did not move. I did it. I put the medicine in her palm oil. It was supposed to be a small thing. I am the one who has the knowledge. I am the one who sells what heals in this village, and the girl was asking too many questions about the box of her mother. I was afraid she would open it. I was afraid of what was in it. And I thought, if Uju is sick, they will not let her stand in the bride selection. And if she does not stand, no one will ask her anything for a while. And if no one asks her anything, I have time. I did it for the compound. I did not do it for myself. But Tata Agu was holding up another block, which read, "This woman has done this once before. The sister of her late husband, 9 years ago. The sister did not die of a fever. The sister died because her husband put medicine in her water." And then a smaller block. "I was in the yard when she came to the gate that night. I saw the water pot. I saw her pour it out. I saw her go back into the house. I have been afraid to say this for 9 years. He held it up. He was shaking. He was 71. He had been afraid for 9 years. And he was finally not. Mama Ife, who had been silent this whole time, said, "My sister, what have you done?" Mama Ginika said, "What was necessary?" Mama Ife said, "And the girl whose mother you killed? What was necessary about that?" Mama Ginika said, "She was too beautiful. She was too tall. She was going to be chosen. She was going to leave. And if she left, the compound would be empty, and I would have nothing. I did not know how else to make her stay." This is what Amara heard. Her aunt, in front of 400 people, saying that she had killed Amara's mother 9 years ago for no greater reason than the fear of losing a roof. Amara said nothing. The chief elder Onuoha said, "Mama Ginika, who is in the box?" Mama Ginika did not answer. "It was her mother's." "What is in the box?" "I do not know." "What do you mean, you do not know?" "I mean, I have asked her 9 times in 9 years, and she has not opened it for me." What the elders did not yet know, what even Mama Ginika did not yet know, was that the box was empty. Amara knew. Amara had been told 3 days before her mother died, sitting in the dark of their small room with a fever in her chest and a small girl on her lap, that the box was to be opened only when Amara was grown, that it contained nothing, and that it contained everything. "What does that mean, Mama?" "When you are grown, there will be a moment when you are asked to die for something that is not your fault. In that moment, you will be told that what is in the box is what matters. You will open it, and it will be empty, and you will understand that what was in it was me. Your mother is in the box. You have been carrying her for 9 years without knowing it. But if it is empty, will anyone believe me? You will not need anyone to believe you. You will need only to be able to stand upright in the place where they are telling you to lie. Her mother had died 3 nights later. Amara had carried the box for 9 years. She carried it that morning to the shrine. When the elder gave the order, Amara knelt in the dust and put her hands on the box, and she opened it. The village waited. She turned it over. It was empty. She held it out. "This," she said, "is my mother. This is what I was carrying. There is nothing in the box because there was nothing left of her. She gave it all to me. The goat pen, the palm oil, the 9 years. None of it was about the box. She said the box contained my mother. She did not say the box contained my mother's gold. There was no gold. There was only the box." The chief elder, Onuoha, sat for a long time. When he spoke slowly. "Mama Ginika, stand up." Mama Ginika stood. "I will not have you killed. I will not have you driven out. I do not want a martyr in this village. I want you to remember." He turned to the village. "The compound is forfeit to Tata Agu for as long as he lives. After him, to Amara. After her, to the village in common. He has been afraid for 9 years. The least we can do is give him a roof." He turned back to Mama Ginika. "You will stand on the 7th month in the yard of this compound with the whole village, and you will say what you have done every year for as long as you breathe. Not for your shame, for the children of this village, so that when they grow up, they will remember the woman who said it out loud." He turned to Amara. "You are not to be killed. The Sassywood will be poured out. The sickness of your cousin will be treated by the medicine woman of Achala, who is not your aunt. Keep the box. We will put nothing in it. The box will stay empty." Tata Agu did not hear this either. He did not have to. He was still carving. He carved a small door for Amara's room. On the door, in the old way, "A house is not the roof that covers it. A house is the mouth that prays inside it. A house is the sister who opens the box. A house is the uncle who cannot hear, but can carve." He tacked the door on the post while the village watched, and 2 apprentices helped him back up the path to his stool, and he sat down, and he did not move for the rest of the morning. The prince arrived at noon, as bride selections always do, and 400 girls stood in their best cloth. Amara was the only one whose cloth was wet, because she had been at the stream until the 9th hour, because she had, in spite of everything, gone to draw the water. The prince walked down the line. He stopped at Amara. He had heard, by the time he walked into the village, what had happened at the shrine. He asked her one question. "Are you the girl who carried the box?" "Yes, my prince." "And it is empty?" "Yes, my prince." "Then what was in it?" "My mother." The prince thought for a long time. What would you do now, if you could do anything at all, and no one could stop you? "Open the box again. Look in it. Close it. Go home." He smiled. "That is the same thing my mother said when my father asked her the same question." He chose, in the end, a girl from Ogidi who had stood through the morning holding a small plant in her hands, because her father had told her that a maiden who brings a green thing to a bride selection shows that she knows how to keep a thing alive. Amara stayed. The village did not choose her. The village did not have to choose her. The village had already chosen her. On the morning Tata Agu had carved the door. when she had stood upright in front of the elders and opened the box and shown them that it was empty and had not cried. Years later, the village would tell the story of Amara not as the girl who nearly died for something she did not do, but as the girl who carried an empty box for 9 years and who opened it on a morning when she was told to die, and who found her mother in it, and who walked back to the compound with the box under her arm. And on the 7th month every year, Mama Ginika would be led to the gate of the compound that no longer belonged to her, and 4 young women of the village would hold the chair for her, because she could not stand for that long anymore. And she would say it out loud, in the dust of the shrine, in front of the children of the village, in front of Amara, who would be standing in the 2nd row, holding the box. And Tata Agu would sit on his stool at the workshop and watch, and would not hear, and would smile. And the box would still be empty.